way. That's really, it should be, and it should have always been, and I've always said it was. But the relationship we have now with the states and governors is very good. And we'll be announcing over the next very short period of time exactly what we're going to be doing. Okay, a couple more. Go ahead.
On coronavirus and Joe Biden, he's the presumptive Democratic nominee. Do you have any plans yet on when you'll start sharing, or when the White House will start sharing some of that information about the coronavirus? Your president.
Well, nobody's called about coronavirus from their standpoint. Look, they had the H1N1, which is swine flu, and that was a big failure. That was a tremendous failure. They had a lot of failures, and you take a look at the history, and 17,000 people died. And you talk about late. They were so late. They were late like it never even existed. That was a big problem. It caused a lot of other people a big problem too. So if Joe Biden would like a briefing, I'd certainly get him a briefing. I don't know what he'd do with it. Yeah, please.
Are Jared and Ivanka serving on the new task force, and how are you going to balance? What?
No, they're not. No. But yes, go ahead, please.
I just want to clarify. So, in earlier conversation, there was a description of multiple different councils or task forces. Can you just explain exactly what the structure
Well, you
is?
have
Who is
Mike's
going to be
task
on it?
force, which is the White House task force, which really brought us up to this point brilliantly, I must say. Dealt with governors all the way through, and I was on many of those calls, and every call got better and better and better. It was hostile at the beginning. By the time we finished, I mean, today's call was a very good call, very friendly call. I think everyone's online. And again, you don't have anybody driving you crazy saying they're not getting ventilators, they're not getting all of the different things. They need more beds. They have a lot of beds right now. And we always erred, I think it's important, we always erred on the sake of give them more. Even when we didn't think New York needed the beds that they were asking for. We didn't think they needed the ventilators that they asked for. And we were right. Now, on ventilators, we're ready to march. I told you this. We're ready to march. We have 10,000 ventilators. We're ready to move them anywhere in the country where we need them, if we need them. We're also building a lot of ventilators, and that's going to be used at some point. I believe, we're going to have stockpiles, including state stockpiles, if they want to work out some kind of an arrangement with us. But we're also going to help other countries, whether it's Italy or Spain or France is having a big problem. They all desperately need, Germany too, they need ventilators. So we're going to have a lot of ventilators. We have a lot, you heard the numbers, we have a lot coming next week. Next week we have a tremendous amount coming. Okay, final question, Steve.
I'd asked about how the task force is going to be structured. Is it one?
No, but then we have, in addition to that, we have a number of committees. We'll have a transportation committee. We're going to have a manufacturing committee. You'll see it tomorrow. We're also having a religious leaders committee. We have a great group of religious leaders. We're having committees with religious leaders. You've been seeing what's going on at the churches and all of that. And we're going to have a faith leaders committee. And so we're going to have a few committees. I'll call them committees. And then ultimately we're going to make decisions. So we're going to make decisions fairly quickly, and I think they're going to be the correct decision. I hope so, Steve.
Form the economic task force tomorrow. When do you want them to have recommendations?
Soon. And they already know what I want. And so when you say form, I don't have to give them instructions. These are very sophisticated people. These are the best people in their fields. So I don't have to say, we just met and we're going to meet in 2 weeks and here's what I said, here's what I want. We've already told them. And the best names in the various businesses and professions and religions. I mean, these are the greatest names, the people that I think probably know the best. So we've called them, and we're going to be speaking to them very soon. And we want them to have, if it's questions or statements, we want them to have that for us. And we will have either response or maybe, ideally, we're going to be learning from them, and we'll be able to do that and put everything we learned from those calls into our new guidelines. So we're going to have new guidelines coming soon. I think it's going to be very good. I think it's going to be very smooth, and I hope it's going to be very safe. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Stanley Shera is a friend of mine for a long time. He's a great real estate person. Passed away, was a great real estate person. Great. Sort of a legend in New York real estate. He called me a couple of weeks ago, said he's tested positive. Stanley's in his early to mid 80s, I guess. And Stanley went to the hospital, and he never came out. He went into a coma. He was unconscious for a long period of time, and he never made it. A great man. He left very charitable, really a great philanthropist, a very, very successful person in Manhattan in the real estate business. So I got to know him a lot. He was so excited when his friend from New York became the president of the United States. He was like a young boy. And he was not a young boy, but he was like a young boy. He was so excited. He thought we'd do such a good job, and he was so happy. And he was very proud of what we've done in this administration. But he was tested positive, and unfortunately, he didn't make it. To me, it's a very sad thing. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thanks, Doc.
I instantly raised my.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the President mentioned, the task force today spoke to 48 of the nation's governors. On that call, we reflected on the fact that all 50 states had emergency declarations in place, which was a first for American history. $5.2 billion have been distributed to the states under the Stafford Act, and it was a productive call and reflective of President Trump's ongoing direction for us to work closely with the states to make sure the states in the areas most impacted by the coronavirus have what they need when they need it. We spoke about the issue of testing and supplies, and I'm going to ask Dr. Deborah Birx to come forward, as well as Admiral Polovchek, to reflect on both of those topics for you. Dr. Birx has been leading an effort from the task force from early on rapidly expanding testing. It was early on that the President formed that public-private partnership with commercial labs, and as we stand here today, more than 2.5 million tests have been performed. And when we add in the estimates of labs that we have to assume with reasonable projections have not yet reported into the CDC, we think that number could be closer to 3 million tests that have been performed. As has been mentioned, the new 15-minute test, we are working closely with Abbott Laboratories that the President and our team met with today here at the White House to rapidly increase the availability of cartridges. Abbott is producing roughly 50,000 cartridges a day. FEMA acquired an initial supply of that and distributed those to the states, but we're working with the states to not only distribute what's being made, but also work with other suppliers to create additional cartridges. A point that I'll ask Dr. Birx to expand on in just a moment is the fact that beyond the new 15-minute test by Abbott Laboratories, beyond what we expect to be a new antibody test, which may well be approved by the FDA in just a matter of days. And an antibody test that would be produced at the rate of 20 million tests a month. The reality is that those commercial laboratories that the President brought in here the better part of 2 months ago and initiated that public and private partnership with have been producing hundreds of thousands of tests every single week. But as Dr. Birx and our team have apprehended, we believe at this point in time that of the Roche equipment that is out there that does the high-speed testing, and we informed governors of this today,